Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Industry Training Series. My name is Eitan Miller and I am the Equipment Manager here at NBS. And today we are going to be talking about monitoring, specifically wireless monitoring. So there are a lot of different instances in which you're going to want monitors on your camera. Most cinema cameras either come with no real monitor or a not super great monitor. And so we're going to have to attach external monitors. So there are two different ways you can do this. You can wire everything in, or you can set up a wireless monitor. And the reason you might want to use a wireless monitor is, say you're shooting a commercial project for a client and you want the client to be able to see what you're working on. Or the director is going to be off in what's called Video Village, looking at the feed, while the camera team can be crowded around the camera and a little more spread out. Or in some cases, if it's really impossible for your first AC to be right next to the camera, they can pull focus from a little further away. So what we have right here is the SmallHD Cine 7 monitor. And we're going to open that up, and that's going to connect to this Flanders monitor that has a Teradek attached to the back. And the Teradek is the wireless transmitter that talks between the two of these. And setup for a wired versus wireless monitor is going to be pretty much the same on the camera side. The only difference is that once you have a wireless monitor, it's going to be automatically transmitting to another monitor. Whereas if you have, say, two monitors on camera, one for your camera operator, one for your first AC, you're going to need to wire those together separately. So there are two main display outputs that cinema cameras use. There's HDMI and SDI. When you can, use SDI. It's a more solid connection. The lock is a little better. With HDMI, if someone bumps it, they can pull the signal right out. Whereas with SDI, you're going to have just stronger signal flow all the way around. That said, sometimes there are problems with one of the outputs, or you have one SDI and one HDMI and you need to send two separate outs. There's nothing wrong with using HDMI. So we're going to get started building this. So here is the monitor. It's nice and small. We're going to screw on these antennas. The order doesn't matter between these two. They're basically identical. What we're going to do is use this to attach the monitor to the camera. And so this mounts onto, this is a NATO lock right here. There are also NATO rails, which are basically the same mounting platform, but a little longer. It's more of a strip, whereas this has a little clip that locks in there. So this is either a Cine arm, a Magic arm, a Noga arm. There are a lot of different names for this type of arm, but the main point of it is that there's at least one ball head, normally two or three, and they can move around until you lock them down. And so this makes it very convenient to move the monitor a little bit as you adjust the camera so that the positioning makes sense for you when you're operating. So what we're going to do is follow the most important principle of first ACing, which is twist the less expensive thing around the more expensive thing. With most arms, you would just spin this around, but this one actually has a little twist knob right here. So we're going to be able to twist this around without having to spin anything at all. That's not super common, but awesome, and I like it. All right, so give it a check to make sure we're nice and tight and it's not going anywhere, and then we're going to be attaching this onto the camera. So we're going to push this down here. First, make sure this is open and nice and loose. Then we're going to be sliding it on. And there should be a little click right there. And then we're just going to tighten this down from the side to make sure it's not going anywhere. Okay, great. And now this is a little high up, so we can adjust our position. Some people undersling them. This is not that versatile of a ball head, so we can't really flip things around, but with longer arms, you can really mount stuff off to the side, upside down. You can really screw it in all over. And if we really wanted, we could have mounted this to one of the sides because there are mounting plates all around this monitor. But for right now, this is all we need because we're not setting up to shoot anything in particular. But based around your shoot and what your project is, that's going to determine where you put everything on your build. So the next two things we have to look at is getting video from the camera to the monitor and then powering the monitor. So we're going to power the monitor first. So here we have our DC out, another WeMo cable, and we're just going to gently push that in, wait till we hear the click, And then we're gonna bring this around to the back where the battery is and plug that in here. So we're gonna be using this SDI cable to connect the camera. So right here you see we have monitor and record out. Either one of these is fine to plug into. You're just gonna get different settings from the camera as to what you're outputting. So we're gonna open this up and line up our cable. And you should feel it go most of the way in, and then you give this barrel a twist until you hear a click to make sure it's in. And unlike the Wemo cables, you don't just pull on the barrel to remove it. You do need to twist it first, and then you pull. It's a pretty solid mount, so you probably won't break anything, but if you pull really hard, you absolutely could damage something. Then we're gonna run this up through here into the input of the camera. And we have this is an in-out, this is an in, and then we have HDMI out and HDMI in. So since this is only in and I don't know if we're gonna need to go out anywhere after this, I'm just gonna connect this to the in. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna just sort of wiggle it until we line this up. So let's power this up and see what we are getting. Power button is on the top up here. Great, and so we can see our menu system right here, and I will exit out of that. So we're all set up. We can close this up. So thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.